LDS religion versus FLDS religion. Which one is right? And why do the LDS religion can't bear to be conflated and confused with the FLDS religion? Also, LDS people can't bear to be called Mormon, which I just find super fascinating. Welcome, everybody. This is the Jaden Jeffs podcast. If you're new here, I grew up in the FLDS cult. I left. I'm not part of the LDS. I'm not part of the FLDS anymore. I am the most independent mind you will find anywhere on FLDS versus LDS. I have the most open, honest perspective of all people of all time. And look, I'm not proud, but I'm just saying, I know if we should call the LDS Mormons. I know exactly how to deal with all the Mormons, okay? The cults, the polygamists. I am the God of the Mormons, and they have no idea that I'm the God of the Mormons, okay? So, if you're new here, join me. If you're LDS, buckle up. I apologize in advance if I offend your feelings. If I tell you a truth that is so hard on you, but you know it's true, then I would just recommend that you just suck it up. And if you're FLDS, you're going to like some of the things I say, you're going to hate some of the things I say, but there's one thing that I will tell you, and that's the truth as I see it. Does that mean it's the truth? Of course, everything I say is the truth. Okay, why do LDS people hate being conflated with FLDS people? Because they don't like to be branded these polygamous, bad pedos. But to me, LDS people have to lie way more than FLDS people. If you ask LDS people, hey, what about Joseph Smith living polygamy? LDS, that's a hard question for LDS people. They're like, you ask a missionary, they're like, we'll have to talk to the bishop about that, or, they sometimes have an answer, but it's always an uncomfortable question for them. But if you ask an FLDS person, they're like, yeah, Joseph Smith lived polygamy, we live polygamy, we're all, we believe this, what's your problem? And I think this is true across the LDS culture so bad, and it's one of the things I just can't stand about the religion. Look, as just a plain religion, whatever, I don't care. They can do their thing, but the reason why I could not join is because they lie about everything. Just like polygamy. They have 1,000 different answers. Nobody really knows. It's uncomfortable for them. And so they just all kind of push it under the rug like it doesn't exist. It's totally unbearable. Now, take a word Mormon. Joseph Smith says in the documentary history of the church, something like, Mormon means more good. And then they got called that forever. And then they get this revelation, their current prophet tells them, we're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, not Mormons. Why? Did Jesus Christ all of a sudden just change his mind and be like, don't call us Mormons anymore? I think that the church is uncomfortable with the word Mormon. They're uncomfortable with Joseph Smith. They're uncomfortable with their founding. They're uncomfortable with everything. But to the masses, Jesus Christ is much more comfortable. It's popular. And so they want to be called that. To me, it's just kind of disgusting, honestly. I don't like it. To me, every aspect of LDS culture is a lie. Because you take the ordinances in the temple, for example. They've changed them so many times. They've changed how they're done. They've changed the garments. They've changed everything so many times, and it's the exact same way. If you get into the details and you say, hey, what about this? It's another uncomfortable conversation that they don't want to have. Polygamy is also this weird thing where some of them say, oh, we'll live that in the next life, but also they don't want to talk about it, and they would never live it in this life. Ever. And so it's kind of like this bygone, forgotten thing. If you're in the LDS culture, you just make everything make sense. Now, both the LDS and the FLDS have the exact same founding. Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, John Taylor, and then it splits. Wilford Woodruff was the prophet of the LDS church, and John Woolley was the prophet of the FLDS church. Okay? But I think if you really look into it, after Wilford Woodruff, and after some of these other prophets that lived polygamy, after John Taylor, the LDS turned from, oh, we kind of do polygamy, to we don't want to do polygamy. And then it got new leadership that basically said, we hate polygamy. And they literally tried prosecuting all the polygamists. It went from the states trying to prosecute the polygamists to the LDS church trying to prosecute the polygamists. They were trying to destroy the polygamists in every way they could. And to me, it's just really hypocritical how the LDS church went from leaders in the span of 30 years, leaders that were quietly living polygamy, and then the leadership changes, and they are trying to get states to prosecute the FLDS or just any polygamous group that 30 years ago they were supporting and upholding under the rug. It seems like the LDS church is trying to be popular with the world in every possible way they can. Because a lot of times the arguments that LDS people make when I'm talking about this is, by their fruits shall ye know them. By their fruits ye shall know them. And if we lie enough about everything, then we're good and you're bad. Now, I'm not arguing that the modern FLDS church is good in any way. I left them for a reason. They lie too. Do a bunch of horse shit that I don't want to have anything to do with. Okay? But while the common LDS people are generally good, I wouldn't exactly argue that the LDS church is super good. How can you bear to sit there and lie about everything? Your past, your future, your present, just lie consistently. By their fruits ye shall know them, but by their money you shall also know how good of a business they run. Because the LDS church, okay, LDS have this argument that if the church wouldn't have done away with polygamy, if they wouldn't have done what they did, their lands would have been taken, the LDS church wouldn't even exist. And God did it so that the LDS church and religion could keep going on. And I can accept that argument for a second. Okay, LDS got rid of polygamy so that they wouldn't get destroyed and God could continue his church. But did God also decide about all the other things that make the LDS church popular with the world? Like, okay, you got rid of polygamy, but then you just tried to get to be the richest, popularist church of all time. And that's why they have to lie about everything so much. Because they're trying to be popular, they're trying to fit in. It started with polygamy, but then it went to the garments, It went to the temple ordinances, which they've changed so many times. It went to turning the church into an absolute business, investments, all kinds of different ways, which, look, I don't care. Fine by me. I just don't like the lying part of it. In so many ways, they've changed their doctrines and their ordinances and how they do things and what's acceptable, all the way down to not wanting to be called Mormon. Sexuality in both the FLDS and the LDS is like the most important thing. You don't have sex before marriage or you're bad. But somehow it creates a culture of misunderstanding in young people to where like 95% of LDS men watch porn or young men watch porn. And yet the LDS has like this such a high standard of morality. And yet that's kind of the underground result. And it's another example of when you suppress people's dark side, then it comes up in a way and it manifests in a negative way somehow. In everything. In every possible way. I admit that like LDS women versus FLDS women, yeah, it's way better to be an LDS woman than an FLDS woman. Because you're not being near as controlled. But in some sense, you lie way more. Because you're a part of this culture that says that women should do what their husbands say. They say all this stuff. But in order to kind of get around a lot of the original doctrines, you just lie about it. You just say, no, that's not how it is anymore. Women are kind of the boss. Because in Mormonism, the man holding the priesthood is kind of over the family, like for eternity. But in LDS culture, it's just also something we kind of lie about and are like, no, that's not how it is. We're 100% equal. But that is not what the scriptures say. The scriptures say the man is the boss. But a lot of LDS families you visit, for me, I just don't like when people lie so much. And look, I'm grateful that they're getting along and they're being equal or whatever. But they just lie about everything. That's my point. You ask them, you can do this. Like, they made the garments, they changed the garments, okay? They make the garments so that they can go more uncovered. Well, they have to get a revelation to make so that they can go more uncovered. It's like, be honest and say that you want to go more uncovered. It's not bad. But to you, it was bad, and you're trying to make it not bad, so you have to go get a revelation. Now stop it and be honest. And just say, look guys, we want to go more uncovered. But that's not, see, when you're in a cult, then you don't want to do something wrong. And so you literally, the leadership, the people, they need a revelation that it's right. And then it's fine. But underneath, it's like a lie. They just can't be honest with themselves and say, look, we got rid of polygamy because we want to, kind of fit in and chill with everybody else and be popular. And that's why we got rid of polygamy. No, that's not even how they think. They can't even comprehend saying that. It's more like God had us, because he wanted his church to continue and he wanted people to continue being apart, then, he revealed that we should do this. Because people don't quite understand in the modern age, then he took a lot of the parts of the ordinances in the temple away, and Now he just wants us to do this. It's like, stop lying. You want to be more popular with the world. You want to fit in better. Stop lying. I can't stand it. I can't stand how the LDS people lie about everything in their religion. And they sit there at the end of the day and are like, we're the good ones. We're right. We don't want to be associated with the FLDS name, polygamy, all the bad stuff. Okay, so lie about everything in your history so that you don't have to be. And then pretend you're not lying. And come talk to somebody like me that knows everything about the early history of the LDS church. And try to tell me that you're not just lying about every single thing possible. Look, guys, when I look at the LDS church, I don't see some evil organization. It's okay that to me that they're there. I'll be friends with them. I'll have a good time with them. Hell, I'll even go to church with them once in a while if you really want me to. But I just get pissed off, and that's why I don't. Okay. So I'm fine with it. I just don't like how they lie about everything. And they can't give you a straight answer. If you go ask the FLDS about any of this stuff, what about the blood atonement that Brigham Young taught? They'll be like, yeah, when the kingdom of God's set up, that's how it's going to be. People that, commit adultery or anything, it's going to be blood atonement. No problem. If you ask an LDS person about that, they're like, oh yeah, Brigham Young was a pretty crazy guy, and he probably didn't understand a lot of things, and prophets make mistakes. And you ask about the Adam God doctrine, FLDS, yeah, 100%. That's how it is. We love Adam. We believe in Adam. It's all Adam. LDS people, all squirmish. No, that's not the official doctrine of the LDS church, and it's been changed since then, and all this hogwash to try to excuse how their early prophets saw things. I just don't buy into any of it. I don't like all the excuses they make and how they have no balls. The LDS church has no balls. LDS leaders have no balls. Zilch. They can't stand up and say what their past really was. The LDS church has turned into this modern attorney-type doctrine where they justify everything in the past through weird words and attorney-type talk and bullshit. They can't stand up and be like, yep, we came from polygamy. We kind of sucks. We want to be more modern. We're chilling. Instead, they make a million weird excuses to why it's right. Because at the end of the day, you have to be right in order for people to join and be a part. It has to be somehow God's way. God wants it this way. God wants us to wear smaller garments now. It's more popular. God just is so understanding every time. It's like, no, you want to do all this stuff and you're trying to make it, and you're trying to figure out how to make it okay in your own mind because you believe the doctrine so much. And so you're so blind that you lie to yourself that God is giving you permission to do things that you want to do now. And the FLDS, on the other hand, is way more honest in the way they live, in the way that they just acknowledge, they just accept everything about Mormonism. They love to be called Mormons. They love to be called polygamists. They love to be called Joseph Smith supporters. They love to be called Brigham Young supporters. They love the Adam God doctrine. They love everything that's original about the LDS church. And in the meantime, the LDS church is sitting over there squirming under a rock, trying to figure out how to get around all this stuff and be the most popular way they can without even acknowledging it. And their justifications are so messed up because they won't acknowledge that they just want to be popular and be one of the cool kids in town. They want to be accepted in Christianity so bad that they make all these changes over the years, and then they're like, why won't they consider us Christians? And FLDS people are like, we don't care. In our minds, we're Christians. LDS people are just like, oh, why don't the Methodists and the Presbyterians and the Catholics accept us as Christians? If you don't like it. Dumbasses. I don't give a shit. Like, whatever. Okay, whatever. I get that's a big old argument. But, like, why do they have to sit there and whine about it? If they're right, why do they want to be accepted so bad by other religious denominations as Christians? It's weird to me. Like, if you're right, then carry on. Like, who gives a shit? But no, literally, they sit there and they whine and they're like, why don't you consider us Christians? It's like, if you consider yourself Christian, then good for you. But don't bitch if everybody else doesn't. I don't know. To me, it just bothers me. Personally, coming from the FLDS, I just am not the type that wants to walk in and sit down and lie about everything. Every single thing. And I will debate any LDS person. I would love to debate one of the apostles. I would love to debate one of the 12 apostles. And I would do it with respect. I would definitely come prepared. But nothing would be more satisfying to me to debate one of the apostles. 100%. Bring it on. But would they do it? I don't know. Probably not. They probably wouldn't do it. Because they would be sitting there all squirmish trying to give me answers and justifications for things that obviously they just wanted to do and were trying to be God's will somehow. I don't think LDS people would debate me on this. I've had debates with LDS people, private ones, and I can talk to them and be their friend as long as I just listen to their justifications for it. The minute I start truly saying how things actually are and why they can't acknowledge the truth, they shut off so fast and don't even want to have the conversation. They don't want to talk to right into my 2 eyes and be like, yeah. And so to me, it's like, if I want to be your friend, I'm going to have to just sit here and listen to all your lies and just bear them and just enjoy them and act like they don't even matter. That's how I'd be your friend. Because if I start saying, no, the LDS did this and they did that, then they start doubting their testimony and they don't want to hear it. We believe in the prophet. We don't want to doubt. Sorry. Okay. Good for you. Keep on believing in him. Can't bear the truth. Can't even begin to handle the truth because you've been lying to yourself for so long. You can't even begin to think about handling the truth. And you're scared that you're going to lose your testimony because you know things don't make sense. Deep down, you know that my argument's going to be right, and you're so very scared that you're going to lose your testimony. That's just how it is in the FLDS. You don't want to hear arguments against the prophet. Now, I'm not saying that LDS isn't better than the FLDS just as a religion. My point is they just lie way more. They just lie way more. And yeah, if you're in the FLDS, you're lying to yourself about the prophet, and you're lying to yourself about a lot of things. But as far as the religion goes, you're not lying to yourself about it. You know, the foundings and all that. It's just like polygamy. Anything else, it's just like, yeah. Anything Brigham Young said, 100% we believe in that. The LDS people also are very money. It seems like they have money classes. And it seems like the appearance in the LDS culture of your business appearance, your money appearance, it's so important how you look. In the FLDS, it's not so much that way. Money, all that stuff, anything temporal isn't super important to, I mean, it's important, but LDS people or FLDS people don't judge each other based on money very much at all. And I know LDS people don't outwardly judge people. In their hearts, they would never admit to judging each other about money. But also, they're just, it seems like there's classes and I don't know. Anyway, to me, the LDS church is just kind of a super well-run business. And their temples are for business. And they do have a lot of good. It doesn't take out or justify the lies. I wish they would just admit all the lies. You know, I could be a part of the church faster if they were just like, yeah, we kind of got to fit in these days, and, you know, it's not like we're claiming we're so right. We're just trying to be a good group of people and do the right thing. And that's why we just kind of let the garments go, and we kind of changed the ordinances, and we changed all this stuff because, you know, we don't really believe it anymore, but we're just trying to fit in. But that's not even how they think. They think that's so right. They think they're God's chosen. They think God is coming down and talking to the prophet, and I probably shouldn't have said that because that just makes LDS people mad. Of course he is. Good. He's telling him to not call you Mormons. He's telling you to not call yourselves Mormons so that you can fit in better. Oh, but that's so that people think of Jesus Christ. Bullshit. That's a bullshit. Okay? That is not why. They're squirmish with the word Mormon. You can't stand up and acknowledge where you came from. Oh, but Jesus Christ wants his name. There's a good excuse for everything. Bullshit. It's a lie. I don't buy into all the bullshit, okay? That's my spill on this. Share this video with your Mormon friends and tell them, hey, come on the podcast. There's a seat right here, and you can sit here and debate me about this. But when you come, I'll start out nice, but I'm not going to lie to you. If somebody really will do it, I'll be surprised. Share this with your Mormon friends. Tell them I love them dearly. I just want them to stop lying. I just want to put this to rest in my own mind, kind of, because so many LDS people, I live here in Utah, and so many LDS people are like, hey, you could join the church. And they don't know anything different. Just like when I was in the FLDS, I didn't know anything different. So it's not like I'm walking around with this grudge. It's just when I think about it and when I hear about it, I just start getting pissed off because I hear so many lies that I can't even begin to bear it. Thanks, guys, for watching. You can join the Mormon church if you want to, but you're just going to have to lie to yourself. And that's why I wouldn't. Thanks, guys. Peace out.